Leominster, Ferguson,
Present.
Foraker, here, Castor,
Here.
Frank Killingsworth,
Here.
Kenny Killingsworth, Layton,
Here.
Reese.
Here.
We have a quorum. Stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under the mayor's report, we have to have an acknowledgement that Councilman Foraker put in his resignation and then rescinded it. It has to be in the minutes. Announcement that we have a special meeting on June 23rd at 6 o'clock. Just for one item.
Yeah, so the June 23rd item will be for the hearing that was scheduled, the public hearing for the conditional permit for Isaac Knight. That hearing, since we didn't have a quorum, didn't have a meeting, it didn't convene, it needed to be republished. It took another 10 days to get that published. That comes out this Wednesday. Get the 10 days, that takes us to the 23rd to be able to take first action on it. Just an FYI.
City administrator's report.
I don't have anything specific. We got a bunch of stuff to work through, so I'll bring a report to the next regular meeting.
Chief.
I don't have anything.
The monthly report of the Southeast Nebraska Land Bank.
Yeah, we used to have that consent, and then I put it in routine. We really don't need to take action on the land bank's item. It's just informational report, so I've added that to our beginning report. So that was just included for everyone to look at.
Routine business, discussion and action, agenda approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
All vote.
7 yeas.
Discussion and action, minutes approval for May 19th, 2025.
Motion to approve. Second.
All vote.
7 yeas.
3, just an acknowledgement. Record of a scheduled regular meeting, no quorum present on June 2nd, 2025. No action required.
Yep.
4, discussion and action, claims approval for June 3rd, 2025.
They're all up here. Any questions with the report that was provided?
I do just have a question. Is there any update on RS's progress on what they've done so far since they've been here?
I don't have their specific work items, but I can get that from Trevor. We
I'm
have
just
a
curious.
few claims that are on here. They've been working up east of Harlan, behind like Devlin Moran's, doing some work there, and a bunch of others change out poles. Those are the first actual like scheduled project besides service work that was to be done.
Motion to approve. Second.
All vote.
7 yeas.
Old business, discussion and action, treasurer's report for April 2025.
All right, that report was provided. Showed cash on hand a little over 17 million for April, and then the budget detail was provided down. On that month, your 8th or 7th month, so 62% or so is what you're looking for. We will have some, not necessarily revisions, but some line items to look at when we get into the next month, or actually now, for the May treasurer's report. That's the one we'll pull through. It'll go up down to all the departments, figure out what we're gonna have for year end, whether or not we need to move anything around, need any budget revisions for that, and start estimating for our first go around of next year's or next fiscal. Any specific questions there?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All vote.
Second. 7 yeas.
2, discussion and action, third reading of ordinance 2025-100, authorizing and providing for the insurance of combined utility revenue bonds in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $20 million for the purpose of paying the cost of improvements to the electric system.
All right, we'll do the third reading, ordinance number 2025-100, an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issuance of combined utilities revenue bonds, series 2025, of the city of Falls City, Nebraska, in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $20 million for the purpose of paying the cost of improvements to the electric system of the city, funding debt service reserve fund, and paying cost of issuance, directing the application of the proceeds of the said bonds, prescribing the form and certain terms and details of said bonds, and authorizing the officers of the city to set certain terms and details of said bonds, pledging and hypothecating the revenue and earnings of the sewer, water, gas, and electric systems owned by the city for the payment of said bonds and interest thereon, establishing the terms upon which the additional bonds of equal lien upon revenues may be issued, entering into a contract on behalf of the city with the owners of said bonds, selling the bonds, and authorizing the delivery of the bonds to the purchaser, and providing for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form. Alright, I submitted a couple reports. One was kind of a fact sheet that went out on June 2nd. In addition to this one, we had some questions on, how's the city gonna pay for it? Can we afford it? I put together kind of a little detail for financial summary and affordability, talking through a lot of the components of the debt coverage with our fiscal year in position of 24, and what needs to go in, or what would need to go into place beyond that. If you went through the report, essentially the bond requires a 1.25 debt coverage, so our net profit for our utilities needs to at least have that debt coverage. That's covered based upon the prelim debt schedule through fiscal year about 29. It's pretty well covered on that. That's based upon saying we have no additional revenues from last year. Or I say have additional revenues because we had an October 1 rate increase went into place. We got those dollars coming in. Essentially, you're about into that year. You're a little over 600,000. 658,000 is the additional revenue that we need to make to get to that 1.25 in year 29 and beyond. So you had a 4% rate increase that went into effect on 10/1 of 24, which was through the last rate study. We got some additional dollars coming in to the city. We got our capacity sales that were going through the power plant. About 180,000 of that comes in for this fiscal year because it's only June to October, and then for the next 4.5 years after that, we got about 550,000 each subsequent year coming in for that. So that right there covers a good majority of that 658,000. The OB $977. Once this bond ordinance is in place, that'll let us meet what they call milestone 1 of the grant terms. And essentially, DED, or be DED, sends us a $15 million check, and we put it in that reserve account. We can park that, invest that. Just basically, if you have $15 million sitting in the bank and you put 4% on it, that's $600,000 annually to come in. You're not going to use those dollars immediately, so you got some time to gain some dollars on that. And you're out to probably 3-4 years for sure. We got our delayed drawdown strategy, kind of spanning that out, keeping that bank qualified. We're trying to keep that under 10 million for each fiscal year. We'll kind of span that out, and then obviously we'll have some interest offset with also as we bond those dollars and have those sit in the bank. So, any questions on any of that? We have capital improvement program, or capital improvements being submitted right now, or is in study for the current rate study. So the 20 million is also included in that rate study. So we got a breakdown of just basic infrastructure work that we normally do. What would be to electric, what would be to water, sewer, gas, all those dollars in that capital improvement plan, plus this project. So then then we can take a look at it and see how that's gonna affect rates. If there's anything additional needs done with rates, or if it could just kind of stay, status quo. Then long term with the project is, you got $20 million of bond dollars, and you got a $15 million grant. So if you have a $30 million project, 15 of that bond dollars is gonna go directly to transmission only. That's your only option if you wanna match those dollars one for one. The transmission project is, it came in, I think initial feasibility was under 30 million, up to a little over 40 million. Kinda just depends on routing, depends on a lot of different pieces, how heavy we wanna build it, do we wanna go steel structures, do we wanna go wood structures? And we're not gonna get that true cost, until we get through that design stage, get the engineering done, and bring those concepts back to Board of Public Works and the council to say, all right, let's scale this up, scale it down, what we can do to maximize the dollars to get the transmission project done, but also leave some dollars on the table that we can utilize for our infrastructure improvements that we need within our distribution system. So, say project's 30 million for transmission, if we bond the full 20 million, that leaves 5 million for electric distribution work. So, that's your.
But only elected, right? I mean, we can only use that extra 5 minutes for.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Second. Vote.
Alright, 7 yeas.
Three, discussion and action, implementation of the purchasing policies and procedures.
Copy from me. That's all right. We talked about this last couple of meetings, we did the kind of final revisions to the cleanup copy is what was requested at the last meeting. So we took all the red lines out, incorporated all that data that we talked about in last meeting, and that would be what we would present for final policy.
Motion to approve. Second.
Vote.
7 yeas.
Regular business, discussion and action. Appointment of Libby Dean to the library board is recommended by Mayor Harville.
Motion approved. Second.
That's you.
All vote.
7 yeas.
2, discussion and action, request for a special designated liquor license for an event on June 28th, 29th, 2025 at the American Legion of Hope.
They're gonna do a beer garden at the Legion, so that does have to come before council. Steve got that to us the other day, so we added it onto this agenda, it was not on June 2nd meeting.
Motion approved.
Vote.
7 yeas.
3, discussion and action, resolution authorizing the city to assess unpaid vacant property registration fees for 918 Fulton Street.
Yep, kind of same thing, we got 2 properties that we'll go through and do additional lien sets on. 918 Fulton is in the process of some ownership change, so code enforcement's working with the people buying that and the existing property owner to try to make that get back to code compliance. So right now we're asking to process the lien that's on it. We're looking at demoing the property, then potentially they can petition back in to receive the funds back for our ordinance. Then the other one's 2212 Highland, that goes through on our 720-day cycle now, so you start every 6 months. So we'll have our 960-day cycle coming up pretty quick here for some of them. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All vote.
7 yeas.
Discussion and action, resolution authorized C to accept unpaid vacant property registration fees
You for second?
Everyone's ready.
Alright, 7 yeas?
End the agenda, meeting's adjourned.